Okay, let's talk about something that's always working behind the scenes on your finances. I'm talking about inflation. Yeah, we hear that word thrown around all the time, right? But today, we're going to peel back the curtain and look at 5 secrets about it that will totally flip how you see your money.
I mean, you've felt this, right? It's that feeling where your paycheck just doesn't seem to stretch as far as it used to. You get a pay bump, but somehow you're still just treading water. Groceries, gas, you name it, it's all creeping up. And let me tell you, that feeling, it's not in your head. It's 100% real, and it's called inflation. So what is it really? Well, put simply, inflation is just the sustained rise in prices for, well, everything. And as prices go up, the power of your dollar goes down. That's why people call it the silent tax. It eats away at the value of your money without you ever seeing a bill for it. It just happens.
Look, we're all taught to think of inflation as this big, bad monster under the bed, right? And don't get me wrong, when it gets out of control, it is destructive. But what if I told you that a lot of what we assume about rising prices is, well, just plain wrong? That's what we're digging into today. We're going to uncover 5 secrets that'll totally change the way you see it.
So, here's the game plan. First, we'll look at inflation's surprising upside. Then, we'll talk about the hidden cost of just holding on to cash. After that, we're going to figure out your personal inflation rate. Next up is debt's secret superpower. Yeah, you heard that right. And finally, we'll talk about how to win the purchasing power war.
All right, let's dive into secret number 1. And this one is a bit of a mind bender. Inflation actually has an upside. I know, it sounds totally backwards, but a little bit of it is actually a sign of a healthy working economy.
So the myth is that any rise in prices is automatically bad for your wallet. But the reality, it's more like a humming engine. See, a little bit of inflation encourages everyone, you, me, businesses, to spend and invest money today instead of just sitting on it. It's kind of like the grease that keeps the economic gears turning. And get this isn't some accident. Central banks, like the Fed, they actually aim for about 2% inflation. Why would they do that? Well, it's to protect us from something way, way worse, deflation. See, deflation is when prices start falling, and that sounds great, but it's an economic death spiral. Nobody spends money because they think it'll be cheaper tomorrow. The whole economy just grinds to a halt. So that little 2%, it's the medicine that prevents a much bigger sickness. Okay, on to secret number 2. And this one is all about the money you think is safe. You know, the cash you have tucked away. We're always told cash is king. But I'm here to tell you, in a world with inflation, your safe money is actually losing value every single day. I mean, it feels safe, doesn't it? It's like a security blanket. You look at your savings account and the number is still there. It never goes down. But that's just a number on a screen. The real question, the one that actually matters, is what can that money buy? That's where things get tricky. And this is where the math gets pretty brutal, but it's super simple. Imagine your savings account is giving you, let's be generous, 0.5% in interest. But at the same time, inflation, the cost of everything, is going up by 3%. You see the problem? You're not making money, you're actually going backwards. Yeah, your real return is a negative 2.5%. That is a guaranteed loss of your purchasing power. So by trying to play it safe and just holding cash, you've actually guaranteed that you'll be able to buy less with it next year. It's like a penalty for not putting your money to work. All right, time for secret number 3. You know that official inflation number they're always talking about on the news, the CPI? Well, here's the secret. That number is just an average for the whole country. It's almost certainly not your reality. So the way they figure out the CPI is by tracking the prices of a huge basket of goods. It's got a little bit of everything the average person buys in it. Housing, gas for your car, food, healthcare, you name it. It's a useful number for economists, for sure. But remember, it's just an average. But think about it. Your personal basket of goods could be totally different. Maybe you don't spend much on some things in the official basket, but your rent, car payment, and tuition are through the roof. If those things are going up way faster than the average, then your personal inflation rate could be way, way higher than what you hear on the news. The squeeze you feel is much more intense. Okay, this next one, secret number 4, is super interesting. I'm talking about debt's secret superpower. It's probably one of the most overlooked parts of inflation, but it's huge. Inflation actually shifts wealth away from lenders and towards borrowers. Let me break that down. If you're the one lending money, inflation is your enemy because the dollars you get paid back with are worth less. But if you're the one who borrowed the money, especially with a fixed-rate loan, inflation becomes your best friend.
Why? Because you're paying back that loan with cheaper dollars, money that has less purchasing power than when you first borrowed it.
The best example of this is a classic 30-year fixed-rate mortgage. Let's say you borrow $100,000 today. In 20 or 30 years, you're still making payments on that 100 grand, but thanks to decades of inflation, those dollars are worth a whole lot less. So in real terms, that debt has actually gotten cheaper for you over time.
So with all this in mind, the big question is, what do you do about it? Well, that brings us to our fifth and final secret. This is where we stop playing defense and start playing offense. This is how you win the war for your purchasing power.
The basic strategy is pretty straightforward. You want to own things that tend to go up in value along with inflation. We're talking about stuff like real estate, because rents and home values usually rise. Things like commodities, gold, for example, and also stocks in certain companies. Specifically, companies that have what's called pricing power, which just means they can raise their prices to cover their own rising costs without losing all their customers.
There's this great quote that says, "Inflation is the one tax that can be imposed without legislation." And that just hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It's this stealth tax, working 24/7, chipping away at your money. And unless you have a plan to fight back, you're going to lose. Understanding these secrets we've talked about, that's step one in making that plan.
So I'll leave you with a question to think about. Take a hard look at your own money. Is your strategy set up to be a victim of inflation or to actually win the purchasing power war? The choice and the strategy is up to you. Thanks for tuning in.